Okay guys, so today we're going to hit some upper body work. We're going to basically hit chest, shoulders, triceps, chest, shoulders, back today. So initially I'm going to start here with some warm-up movements. So basically I'm trying to warm up all of my rotator cuff muscles, mainly my supraspinatus, especially for the overhead pressing. Because for me and myself, that's typically a weak spot for me. It doesn't tend to fire properly. So I'll see your supraspinatus is really important. It helps in assisting adduction from the arm, as well obviously as supporting where your humerus sits in that glenofossal joint. It's obviously a very small capsule. So we want flexibility in there as possible, especially with overhead pressing and pressing in general. So what I'm going to do initially is isometric drills. So I'm going to set my scapula down, I'm going to push into the power rack here, and I'm going to push as hard as I can for roughly about 30 seconds or so, each direction. So I'm working on external rotation here, and then I'll put it against the rack, and I'm going to do internal rotation as well. From there, I'm going to go into a thoracic extension mobility drill with my foam roller, helping kind of unlock the thoracic region of my spine to get it moving properly, and then we'll go into a proper warm-up for what I'm getting ready to do as well. So what we're going to start off with first is basically the shoulder capsule, shoulder region we're going to emphasize. So I'm going to start with a top half press, dead stop. So basically the bar is going to come right around my forehead. I'm going to dead stop on every press. So as I come down, I'm going to dead stop before every rep. I'm going to reset and basically contract my upper back. And then I'm going to press overhead, pause for a second, back down to the pins, dead stop, reset, lock my back into place, press up. Now I'm going to do this unsupported. That is going to help me to improve my stabilization in my scapular region. Obviously, bracing in the abs is important as well to help this whole kinetic chain work. So basically bracing through the core, contract the upper back, press over. And you'll see on my last press, I'm going to hold the overhead position for about 5 seconds or so and control it down. So, and I'm going to do this in a pairing format. So I'm going to do a set on my overhead presses, half presses. Then I'm going to go into Smith machine behind the neck press, but it's not going to be for loading emphasis. It's more going to be for stretching and opening up the thoracic, the chest, the shoulders and delts, keeping it sub-maximal. For around 12-15 reps, and then I'm going to come back and do presses, and then again after that I'm going to go into overhead flies. So the overhead fly is basically going to go completely overhead back to the front. So obviously you got a ball and socket joint here. We're going to work the entire region. So So it's just not isolating like the lateral head, anterior head, or the rear head. We're gonna go through the whole raises. And actually today I'm gonna do what's called a Lou raise, and that comes from Lou. He was an Olympic lifter. I think he's got Olympic records in the snatch and the jerk, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, he's the one who came up with these, and it's typically an overhead fly, except we're gonna use plates, like big round plates, and it's just gonna emphasize the loading pattern is gonna be just a little different with the plates. But I'm gonna allow rotation in my joint. So if I'm starting facing each other and then rotating into an external rotation, basically if I'm facing on the outer portion after that, and you'll see in the movement. So it's full aspect up and down, and I'll go to complete failure on that every set that I do. So it's gonna be 6 sets total. So top half press, I'm gonna rest. Smith machine behind the neck press, rest. Back to the press, rest, overhead fly, rest. So back and forth, going back and forth between the presses and the overhead flies and behind the neck. So it's an alternating pattern, and I'm doing rest in between. The only time I'm taking a complete rest, meaning around 3 minutes or so to help my nervous system recuperate, is before I do the top half presses each time. When I'm going into the Smith press, or if I'm going into the overhead fly, it's going to be an incomplete rest, meaning around 90 seconds or so before I do those. one thing you'll notice, like on the rows, is it looks like I'm purposely moving it really slow. I'm not. The thing I like to say is the tension is going to dictate the tempo. So whatever speed you have to go to maintain the constant tension in your targeted muscle is how fast you're going to lift. Whether that's a little more explosive, a little slower, or whatever it is. The more neurologically efficient you get, it will get better and better, and then concentric's going to be a little more explosive, a little more aggressive. My lower lats especially have been a weak point for a while, so they're weak in that position. So that's why right now I'm really trying to get extremely efficient and get them to fire. So my tempo is slower than it typically would be on things that I'm really good at, and they're more explosive. So I'm not purposely doing a slow concentric. It is what it is to keep the tension where I want it. And also, I'm getting ready to do my wide grip pull downs. So you can see the machine is a little different than the regular pull down. It's wide base, independent handles. Obviously you can use a wide grip on a regular lat pull down, but I prefer dual cables whenever I can get them because it allows more freedom in the wrist and joints in themselves and doesn't lock you into position, which can cause some joint irritation, especially with me having to deal with, you know, the tendonitis on the medial side that I typically deal with at some point, like it is right now. So never want to get into a fixed bar if I don't have to. So freedom of movement within the joints is very important, which is why I'm glad we have this piece of equipment. But a regular wide grip pull down is fine just as well. Alright guys, so we're on the last thing for the day, and it's conventional deadlifts. Regular old deadlifts. It's probably been 2 months or so since I've done these. And we're going to go in a wave, descending pattern. So I'm going to go 6 reps, 5, and 4. So there's 3 total sets. Back feels a little weird today, so we're just going to play it by ear. I'm going to go all out and go hard, but not to complete mechanical breakdown, obviously. So I'm going to keep things safe, but push hard as I can. I'm actually going to do these reset style. It's typically we do touch and go reps, but we're just going to go hard, so I'll kind of do a little reset with each rep that I do. Unless I feel in the groove, then I'll go a touch and go method. So we'll just play it by ear and see how it goes. Alright guys, so got home from the gym, good session, so I'm just going to quickly go over my post-workout meals. So this is my initial first meal, quote unquote, because I consider I do 2 post-workout meals, but within the post-workout window for myself, it's literally just a continuous of eating. Like I'll have this meal and then in an hour and a half later or so I'll eat my next meal, and I'm just kind of counting it all in one. I just go by my digestion and just how it feels. If I'm hungry in an hour, I'll eat in an hour. If I need to wait 2 hours, I'll wait 2 hours. So initially, and I'll play this by how much in the meal, but typically right after the workout, I'll get around 30 grams of whey isolate. So just a basic whey isolate here. Then I also put in that 20 grams of collagen hydrolyzed peptides, so protein here. I really like this obviously for all the health in your joints and the systemic benefits of it. Because remember, you only need 20 grams of whey or a complete amino acid to stimulate protein synthesis. So people are like, well, it's not complete protein. Well, I'm getting my complete protein out of my whey isolate, and then I'm finishing off obviously the caloric intake with my collagen. Then I'm also adding my glutamine in here from Nutrex, glutamine dried. I'll put 10 grams in this as well. And then I put up to 3 grams of taurine, and the point of taurine is kind of 2 that I want it to, it helps calm the nervous system down, number 1, which is obviously important because you want to get back into that parasympathetic state right after training, which is obviously sympathetic dominant, so it helps calm the nervous system, and then it also helps with glucose uptake. So those are my main supplements. And what I do, because I actually, for my carbs, I always use cereal. Rice-based cereal is my go-to right now. Just better on digestion, easier to assimilate. And then people are like, do you use milk? On a rare occasion, I'll use some almond milk, but most of the time I mix all these powders together, and then it just makes kind of like a little paste, kind of soupy paste in a sense, with chocolate flavored. So you see the consistency of it. And then from there, I'll just put it on the scale here. And then today I'm gonna do 150 grams of carbs from my cereal. So this is my Koala Crisp. This is like my favorite ever. I love this cereal. Number 90 there. And then crispy rice cereal from Trader Joe's. And people are like, well, can you use Rice Krispies? I mean, you can. I prefer this just because literally the only ingredient in it is milled rice and then a little bit of cane sugar. There's nothing else in here. So I just like it because it's really quality So then obviously I'm going to top it off with this. Zero this out. Yes, this is a lot of cereal, but I'm going for 150 grams, so no biggie, which is awesome. So it's obviously a treat too. And another thing about post-workout, if your caloric intake or your carb intake's in a pretty good place, you're in a building season, or even in prep, depending on where your carbs are, people are like, well, what should my carb source be? You know, this is the time that I tell most people to give them a little freedom, have your fun carbs, so to speak. So like your cereals, or I do rice cakes with jam sometimes. Sometimes I'll even do sorbet. You could do Skittles, honestly. Just realize when your body breaks down the carbs, quote unquote, glucose is glucose. And you're looking for that insulin response if your goal is obviously hypertrophy and growth. Now, if you're doing a body comp and trying to recomp or drop body fat, it's a different story. So for the most part, digestive being on point and everything, just have a low-fat quality meal afterwards, and then my next meal we'll film is where I get my more just food, so more my solid food base, which you'll see. So this is my immediate post-workout, and then the next one will be my actual post-workout meal. Okay, so now we're at my second post-workout meal. It's around an hour and a half. I just got everything cooked because I always like this meal fresh. And this is, like I said, a more solid food base. So I got 150 grams of carbs in the immediate post-workout meal. So this one I'm shooting around 200 grams of carbs, maybe 3. We'll just see how I always assess it by how I feel. I eat slow to make sure I'm not eating too fast, obviously, properly digest my food. So make sure you are chewing your food to semi-liquid form. That way you absorb it a lot better. So this meal this is an all-you-can-eat meal. So it's basically whatever I can put down and be moderately full. I never want to be that, disgustingly full like you're going to throw up the next day. I actually still have one more meal to eat after this as well. So the minimal amount I want this meal is around 250 grams of carbs, give or take. If I can, I've gotten as much as 400 grams before, 450. That's usually when I eat my sushi because it's just easier to put down. Sometimes I put it down in this meal as well. So what I'm going for here is stuff that I digest very well, and it got a lot of nutrient-dense food, and then some easier digestible carbs to just fill in the gaps. So I always, 90% of the time, stick with fish, just because it digests very easily. I mean, you have fish, which is typically 2 hours. Then there's chicken, which is about 2.5, 3. You have turkey, which is at 3 to 4. Beef is 3 to 4. So I'm always sticking with fish. I love shrimp because this is wild caught red Argentina shrimp. It's freaking delicious. I got it from Trader Joe's. It's not bad. I think $8 a pound or something like that. And then, so that's around 7 ounces cooked. So you're shooting around about 60 grams of protein there. Then this is 80 grams of carbs and rice. So it's just regular jasmine rice. And then I sauteed my shrimp in, about a half a teaspoon of coconut oil. People's like, well, you're going to get too much fat. And I'm like, that's literally 2 grams of fat, so it's not a big deal. So 80 grams of carbs here, 60 grams of protein, and then my sweet potato, which I love. I typically like the Japanese sweet potato is the best, but I couldn't find any, so this is my regular sweet potato. This is 250 grams weight, so this is 50 grams of carbs. Then I will have my greens. I always have greens at every meal. This is around 100 grams, just a spring mix of some spinach thrown in there, and I'll use Italian vinaigrette dressing from Bold Harvest Farms. This is my little boy. Always wanting my food. Literally, there's 1 gram of fat and 3 grams of carbs in 1 serving. So I don't even really use a serving, but it's a great flavoring. Goes over really easily. So I'll have my salad there. I have fruit here. I typically will go about 150 grams of fruit, but there's not really that left in this, but I'll eat whatever there is in here, so I won't even honestly count this. I'll just eat it. Then I have my go-to rice cakes. These are just regular rice cakes. A lot of times I'll do chocolate, but I haven't found any yet. They've been out for a couple weeks. And then on top of my rice cakes is real jam. So I like this. This is pretty new that I found. And it's real fruit, and it's just sweetened with honey. So there's even no added sugars or anything. It's literally strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and honey. Nothing else is in this. So really quality source and very easy to get a lot of carbs in, obviously. So I'll literally put a tablespoon of this, which is 10 grams of carbs, on each rice cake, which is 7. I'll easily eat, you know, 7 rice cakes or more of this, because this is a piece of cake for me. And then my favorite dessert, sorbet. Black cherry is my go-to, but I'm out, so I'm sticking with the raspberry tonight. I'll either eat a half of this or the whole thing. This is my last thing that I eat. I always eat it in order as nutrient dense first, to make sure I'm getting my nutrients in, and then I go to the easier sources. So I'll finish everything off with my sorbet. In this whole thing, there's 140 grams of carbs. So minimal, I'll eat half of it, and 70, so, you know, we'll see how that goes. So that's my go-to there. So right now, roughly the total is going to be 80 grams of carbs here, 50 here, that's 130. We're going with initially 7 rice cakes, 50 grams of carbs. So that's what, 180. And then my jam on top of that, 10 grams a piece, that's another 70. So that's 250. And then at least half this is going to be 70. So right there is 320 grams of carbs, roughly, you know, give or take. And then we'll see if I can put down more. But this is pretty typical for me for my second post-workout meal every time. It's just like one of my favorite. It's either this, or we'll go to sushi and I'll have a chirashi bowl and 3, maybe 4 rows, depending on my appetite. But that's it, guys. It's pretty simple. You know, I honestly don't need flavoring on any of this. The cinnamon on my sweet potato because I love the flavor. The shrimp, and I just like jasmine rice. And then also, I always take a digestive enzyme with these 2 meals that are very calorically dense. Even though I have good digestion, you still, with this is so many calories to help break down and assimilate these nutrients more efficiently, so you're not straining basically your digestive system, to kind of give it a little bit of a break. So this really helps. So I'll typically take about 4 to 6 of these Biogest, which pretty much covers every aspect of digestion. But that's it for the day, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll do another one soon. If you have any comments, you know, list them in the comment section below. Thanks again.